Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Venezianico Redentore Enigma. This watch is available from venezianico.com for €625. Venezianico are a well-established microbrand based in Italy. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a white cardboard watch box, which is protected by this white cardboard outer sleeve. Nice attention to detail, because in gilt in the top left corner of the sleeve we have the Venezianico emblem, and also there's nice embossing of the Venezianico text logo and also the emblem embossed into the cardboard sleeve. So one removes the sleeve, and as you can see, the lid also has the logo and emblem. So I'll remove the lid and show you the interior. So the base has a foam panel, and it's fully upholstered with a contrasting grey velour fabric to a good standard, and the watch sits in the base inside a cutout panel on this padded pillow cushion, which is also upholstered to a good standard with grey velour fabric. It's a nice presentation, and one immediately gets the impression that this is a quality mid-tier piece. So with the watch you also get this envelope, and I'll show you what it contains. There's 2 cards inside. On the reverse of this one, it invites you to join the Owners Club, club.venezianico.com, and it's signed by the CEO and also the COO of Venezianico. And this card is the Certificate of Authenticity and Warranty, and I'm pleased to report that the Redentore Enigma is covered by a 2-year international warranty, which is very good. It's signed and also filled in with the date of purchase, and at the base it also says download the instruction manual from support.venezianico.com, and this is innovative. Rather than printing out a booklet, owner's instruction manual with diagrams and instructions of how to operate the movement use, which is the Seiko NH39A automatic, you simply download it from their website. So very good, and also very good to get a 2-year warranty. You also get this plastic tag which goes on the buckle and tang, and it secures the buckle and tang to the leather strap. And lastly, you also get a map of the city of Venice, which I'm going to open up and show you. Very nicely printed. As you can see, the map covers the whole of the city of Venice, and they've highlighted landmarks, buildings that their watches, the models, are named after. So for example, if you look at the lower portion of the map, you can see Redentore, and it gives you the background. The Basilica of Redentore is the masterpiece of the Venetian architect Andrea Palladio. So that is the inspiration for the Redentore series of watches, including this Redentore Enigma piece. So nice to get the background and the explanation of where they get their model names from. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 40mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 46.7mm, a thickness of 11.4mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The Italian leather strap is made in Tuscany, and it has a contrasting blue tone to it, which is lighter in the centre and navy blue at the edges. It tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. Solid 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang, signed with the Venezianico emblem to a good standard with high definition engraving. Quality of the mirror polishing is flawless on the top side, underside and flanks. Nice curved profile to it. A nice heavy gauge to the buckle and tang. No sharp edges, no burrs, and the buckle and tang are both finished to a very good standard. Quality of the leather strap is also exceptional, and it's hand finished in Tuscany. And beautiful grained finish to it, nice satin sheen to it, and I love the tone of the blue, which gets darker as it graduates to the flanks. We have a double dome sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the Dolphin handset. So this is a regulated piece, and at 10 o'clock we have the regulator 24-hour subdial. There's no second hand because this is powered by the NH39A automatic, which is a regulator movement. So the minute hand is fixed onto the cannon pinion in the center of the dial, which is normal. But then rather than fixing the hour hand onto the cannon pinion in the center of the dial, because it's a regulator, the hour hand is mounted on the subdial, the 24-hour dial at 10 o'clock, and there is no second hand. Quality of the mirror polishing to the Dolphin handset is exceptional, and also I like that the caps on the hands are very well nicely mirror polished. Chaptering has nice clear high definition printing, so the minutes in the Arabic numerals and also the minute ticks on the chaptering have a nice 3D effect, but the quality of the printing is fine, it's high definition and sharp. Also the quality of the printing of the 24-hour Arabic numerals on the subdial are nice and crisp, they're high definition. The white Arabic numerals contrast very well with the black subdial indexing. So hands contrast very well. My favourite aspect of this Enigma version of the Redentore is the sunburst dial, which is graduated. It's darker at the circumference, so nearer the chaptering it's more of a navy blue, but in the centre of the dial it has a sunburst pattern which is more electric blue in direct light, and it is very aesthetically pleasing the way it changes colour in the light from an electric blue in the centre to the graduation to a navy blue at the circumference where the chaptering is black. So symmetry of the dial is good. I like the layout of it, the legibility is good, the readability is good, and also the AR coating performs very well on the underside of the sapphire crystal. Nice profile to the sapphire crystal. It's got a slight boxed top hat profile to it without being too tall and thick, but I like the edge of it, the way that the boxed profile catches the light. It's just very aesthetically pleasing, the way the crystal projects above the mirror polished stainless steel bezel. So the quality of the 316L grade stainless steel case and also bezel is exceptional in terms of finishing. Longitudinal brush satin finishing to the flanks has a nice grained finish, and the grained finishing is very fine. It's not rough, it's not a coarse grained finish, it's a very fine grained finish. The satin finishing has a beautiful lustre to it. No sharp edges to it, every facet has been deburred and chamfered to a very high standard. I like the contrast of the curved lugs. The top of the lugs have a nice mirror polished finish which complements the domed profile to the bezel, and I like the contrast because we've got mirror polish on the tops of the lugs, but we've got brush satin finishing to the flanks of the case and in between the lugs. So I'll show you the case back. Solid 316L grade stainless steel. It provides an effective hermetic seal to 50 metres, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece, and as you can see it's engraved with high definition engraving with the basilica of the Redentore, which this is inspired by, as you can see, and around the circumference we've got the reference number and also specifications of the piece. So beautiful detail to the engraving, and it does add interest to the case back, which is screwed down with 6 flathead screws rather than being a conventional screwed down case back, and 50 metres of hermetic seal will suffice because this is a daily wear piece with a push-pull crown. So absolutely gorgeous engraving of the basilica, and I really like it. I think it's nice to have that continuity of design because the Redentore is inspired by the Redentore Basilica, which I showed you on the map of Venice. Very well finished. Nice profile to it because it does have a flat centre section rather than being a deep bubble back case back, so that means that it doesn't sit too proud on the wrist, it does sit very snug to the wrist. Bearing in mind this isn't a manual wind or a quartz powered piece, it does need adequate clearance to clear the rotor on the bottom of the NH39A automatic. Right, so there's no loom on the dial or hand, so we don't need to do a loom test, but let's test the screwed out the push-pull crown execution. It's coin edge finished, but rather than being parallel, it has a conical profile to the coin edge finished crown. The proportion of the coin edge crown is very good. It's grippy and tactile, but it's not oversized. It doesn't project too proud of the crown guards. Crown guards are very well finished, nice chamfering to them, deburred very well, no sharp edges to the undercut, which has a nice curved profile, and they've also got a nice contrasting finish to the crown guards, which are correctly proportioned. So they're large enough to protect the coin edge crown, but they do fit the aesthetic of this being a daily wear piece or potentially a dress piece. I like the contrast of the brush satin finishing to the flanks and then the mirror polishing to the crown guards themselves. So conical profile to it adds interest rather than being it straight and parallel. And embossed, we have the Venezianico emblem, which is embossed to a very high standard, as you can see. And again, good continuity because the embossed emblem matches the emblem which is engraved on the buckle and tang, as you can see. And again, it matches the applied silver mirror polished emblem on the graduated sunburst dial. So I like to see the 3 emblems on the crown, the dial and also the buckle and tang. So as it's a push-pull crown, we don't need to unscrew it in order to manually wind the caliber NH39A. So in the closed position, one can manually wind the NH39A to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. Feels nice and smooth. The architecture of the NH39A is very similar to the NH35A, which you'll all be familiar with, but it doesn't have a date complication. So Seiko deletes the date complication used in the NH35A. The other main difference to the architecture of the NH39A is it doesn't have a second hand on the cannon pinion, and we don't have the hour hand mounted on the cannon pinion in the centre of the dial. We have it mounted on a subdial at 10 o'clock because this is a regulator movement. So that's the main difference, but the actual architecture of the movement, the rest of it, is the same as the NH35A, which has been in service since 2011, so it's a well-proven movement. But in terms of manual winding, you can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up, so there's no discernible difference between the 39A and the 35A respectively. They feel exactly the same. They've got that characteristic medium firm resistance to the mainspring building up tension. So, as there's no date complication, the benefit of that is there is no phantom date setting position. Putting it out to the first click position is the final click. There's only one click position on the crown. We're now in the time setting position. So one can hack the movements, but there is no second hand, so it's not possible to set the time precisely to the second, and that is the negative of this being a 39A rather than a 35A respectively. It lacks the date complication, so no phantom date setting position is good, but it lacks a second hand on the cannon pinion, so you can only set it to the minute, you can't set it to the second. But having said that, it feels exactly the same. Rotating the minute hand clockwise and also anti-clockwise feels exactly the same as rotating the minute hand on an NH35A. There's no discernible difference. Nice light resistance to it, feels smooth clockwise and anti-clockwise. And you can cycle through the 24 hours in order to move the 24-hour hand on the 24-hour subdial because this is a regulator. So very smooth, and I really like that it doesn't have a phantom date setting position. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. So it's a pleasant push-pull crown to use. No friction whatsoever. There's a rubber O-ring gasket inside the crown and a second rubber O-ring gasket inside the stainless steel crown tube, and that provides 50 metres of hermetic seal. With a piece like this, which you can manually wind, and it's a daily wear piece, it doesn't need to have a screw down crown and 100 metres. So I think 50 metres is perfectly acceptable, and they've made the correct decision by using a thinner caseback which provides 50 metres rather than a thicker bubble back caseback in order to get 100 metres. It keeps the piece nice and slim because it's 11.4 millimetres with the double dome sapphire crystal, which is good. It's not too thick, bearing in mind it uses an NH series of movement. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I'm pleased to report that I can just fit it on my 8-inch wrist, but the strap is a fraction too short. If it were half an inch longer or an inch longer, I could engage it with both of the keepers, so that's something to bear in mind. The leather strap on this piece, which is made in Tuscany, will fit up to a maximum 7.5-inch wrist, but I'm not going to be critical of it because for the majority of collectors with a 7-inch wrist to 7.5-inch wrist, this length of strap will suffice. In terms of quality, it's very soft and supple. It feels like calf leather, and I love the look of it because the graduation of the colour, it's light blue in the centre, which is like a traffic blue colour, and then it graduates to the flanks in a navy blue colour, so that does add interest. I think it's good that they didn't just use the same navy blue across the strap or the same traffic blue in the centre all the way across, because the graduation of the colour matches the graduation of the sunburst dial, because in the centre it's lighter, it's more like an electric blue, and it graduates to a navy blue at the chapter ring, which is black. So I think it matches. The graduated strap matches the graduation sunburst dial. Proportion is correct. Nice taper from 20 at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. Mirror polished buckle and tang matches the mirror polished tops of the lugs and the domed bezel. So, very comfortable piece because it is only 83 grams. And that's the kind of heft one would expect with a manual wind, alternatively a quartz powered piece, not an automatic. An automatic movement does add some heft to the piece. 40mm gives a nice wrist presence. Doesn't feel too large, doesn't feel top heavy, feels very well balanced on the 20mm leather strap. And I like the colour tone of the strap, and I like the colour tone of the sunburst dial, the way it changes colour from an electric blue to a navy blue depending on how you tilt the piece. When you tilt it at an oblique angle, the edge of the boxed profile double dome sapphire crystal catches the light, so very aesthetically pleasing. And I like the domed profile to the bezel rather than it being a flat profile bezel. Just gorgeous to look at. The Dolphin minute hand catches the light and contrasts very well with the dial, and also the Dolphin sub-dial hand for the 24-hour register catches the light very well. So it's a very well executed regulated dial. The quality of the printing to Venezianico and Redentore on the dial is also done very well. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. You can see there the white text is crisp and high definition. It's nice and sharp. They haven't used a font which is too thick. And I like the applied silver mirror polished emblem which catches the light. I'll just get the camera to focus on it, just bear with me. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So, very good looking piece. Good looking from every angle. Nice curved undercut. This is something I really like about it being only 83 grams, but also only 11.4 thick. Rather than having a straight angular profile to the lugs, they've curved the undercut and it really wraps around the wrist very well. So it has a relatively compact case at 46.7. I often refer to the sweet spot for lug to lug in my reviews as 48mm because that will fit every wrist size, whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. At 46.7 it's slightly below the sweet spot of 48, but if you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you'll find this piece fits you to perfection. Even on my large 8 inch wrist, there's a minimal gap beneath the tips of the lugs. So they've got the profiling of the case very well, and I like the downward slope of the tips of the lugs. So rather than sitting on top of the wrist like a slab of 316L grade stainless steel, it wraps around it. And the Caseback is low profile, so it does fit very snug to the wrist. Needless to say, at only 11.4, this will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. Anything below 13mm is the sweet spot. 11.4 is suitable as a daily wear piece, but also as a dress piece. So just gorgeous to look at. And I like the regulated dial with the absence of the second hand. It's nice and clean and minimalist. Proportion of the Dolphin hand is large and easy to read. So it does take some getting used to if you're used to a 3-hand watch, but you do quickly get accustomed to the sub-dial being for the hours and the large Dolphin hand being for the minutes. So you do get used to reading the time and the absence of the second hand. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. So as I've detailed, the NH39A is based upon the architecture of the 35A, which you'll all be familiar with. They delete the second hand and also the date complication. So the hour hand is mounted on the sub-dial for the regulator 24-hour dial at 10 o'clock. So the negative is there's no second hand if you like to have a second hand, but that's it. Doesn't have a phantom date setting position, which is very good. Like the NH35A, it has 24 joules. It runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, but there's no second hand, so it's not possible to set the time precisely to the second. You can only set the time to the minute, so that's something to bear in mind. No date complication is good, so no phantom date setting position. The stated accuracy of the NH39A is the same as the 35A, -20 to +40 seconds per day. So a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that Venezianico are well regulating the NH39A automatics they're using. This one is running consistently at +5 seconds per day, which is actually within chronometer accuracy of -4 to +6. So +5 is well within the -20 to +40 stated accuracy, and +5 is perfectly acceptable for an NH39A. So reliable, well-proven workhorse movement made in Japan, and it's been in service since 2011. So at this stage in 2025, it is a well-proven movement. No reliability issues reported whatsoever. The build's quality, materials, quality control, and accuracy are all very good when it's well regulated. So +5 is very good. So I like it, and I think it's the correct choice for a regulated piece in the mid-tier at this price point of €625. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So we're looking at a mid-tier piece. The price point is €625. I'm going to declare it excellent quality, and I'm going to say the value is okay. I'm not going to say the value is good or excellent, because at €625 it is a highly competitive price point, and some other microbands are offering higher grade movements than the NH39A. But one has to bear in mind, Venezianico are a micro brand and therefore they are trying to make their pieces competitive at retail. They are competing with a lot of other micro brands within the mid-tier. So I appreciate the production costs of a regulator at this price point, and I think it's fair to say the value is okay. Quality is excellent. The AR coating is good, the sapphire crystal is good, the clarity is good. I like the NH39A because of its reliability. It's well proven since 2011. Quality of the finishing to the head of the piece is exceptional. Mirror polishing and the brush satin finishing is high quality. The quality of the engraving is high quality. Nice high definition engraving of the basilica. So I really like these kind of details. The embossed crown with the emblem is also finished very well. And good to see no cost-cutting measures, because rather than having a sterile buckle and tang, it's signed with the emblem, and also there's good continuity because the embossed crown is signed and matches the embossed emblem on the dial. So it does look every bit of a €625 piece, and I like that it's a regulator with a graduated sunburst dial. Originality is there and the continuity of design is there. So I'm going to recommend it to you for consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Venezianico Redentore Enigma. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.